So with this news that has come out, does that mean any future Star Wars projects are doomed? Let's find out. Alright, so if you guys heard the news last night, it was breaking news that the Acolyte, the Star Wars show on Disney Plus, has been canceled after one season. And now, I can somewhat agree to this because if you look at the Acolyte, from its storytelling to the characters and its plot, it was all pretty bad. And so I have so much to say with this because of the show overall and with the direction that it was headed, and this could lead into the question: are any Star Wars projects, especially from the Disney Plus shows to the theatrical releases, are they doomed because of this news? Well, let's find out and talk about it. And so, if you're new here, then be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future bits. But now, let's talk about it. And now, to start things off right off the bat, with my thoughts on the Acolyte, and that is, I thought it was a very interesting show. It was not the best Star Wars show in my opinion, but even though that I praised it from the very beginning, it was the greatest piece of Star Wars content in a while, but that sort of aged poorly. Like, if you guys checked out my review or something like that, but even from the start, I thought it was going good. It had interesting storytelling, especially with the lightsaber fights, the duels, and even though it was a murder mystery packed into a Star Wars show, and having had some sort of thrills and like stuff like that, it was going to be dark. But then as the show continued on, it didn't have no clear sense of direction where it was going. Like, it was all over the place, especially with our main characters, which I don't know if I gave a damn about, but I did not care about the characters. But even though I liked Master Soul, played by Lee Seung-jae, I thought he was a very cool character. Like, especially as he was reuniting with his Padawan, and he is a Jedi Master, and they were setting off to find like a person that was like killing a bunch of Jedi Masters and going on this killing spree, and now that they have to track them down. But even though as the show progressed, it lost a lot of momentum. But even though like people were saying that with episode 4 it was the best, it was gonna hook the viewer, but no, it was actually wrong on every level. But I did not like the story, and it had so much filler, and every episode it was just not my cup of tea. And just with the point, the poor storytelling, it was there. It was just like not the thing that Star Wars needed. And on top of that, I did not care for the sister storyline at all between Osha and May. I thought their characters were interesting, but it was not something that I was invested to, especially with episode 3 that introduced us to their childhood and progressing that. Like, I mean, I did not care for that, especially with the mother witches, and when they were performing that ritual with their coven, and they were hiding out from the Jedi. It was just like a storyline that I did not care for, and this is what Star Wars adapted into their shows. It became like Disney Star Wars, and plus, this show was already divided, even like before the show came out. But now, when the show officially released, it had like a low Rotten Tomato score and the lowest viewership ever. So I mean, nobody was talking about it weekly, and even though with the Star Wars fandom, it's not in like a good spot right now, because even after The Last Jedi, and even with all these Star Wars projects, especially with these shows that were coming out, they were not well received. But even though I mean, I loved Andor and The Mandalorian, it's some of my favorite pieces of Star Wars content ever. But even with the rest of the Star Wars projects that are coming out, like with Skeleton Crew and The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is set to release in 2026. But now I think that I don't know if these projects are doomed or not. And speaking of which, with some upcoming Star Wars projects that we have coming out, like we have Skeleton Crew and The Mandalorian and Grogu, but even with Skeleton Crew, like it could be a fun show because it's a coming of age story involving kids in space with Jude Law. I'm pretty sure like it's going to be like targeted to more like a younger audience, but I mean, and I'm just so conflicted right now that I think this show could possibly be doomed, but I'm looking forward to it. It has the vibes of E.T. and Goonies, but even with The Mandalorian and Grogu, a Star Wars film that is making their return to the big screen after the rise of Skywalker. I mean, there's no hype level within that movie, but I'm sure excited for it. But I don't know if the general audience will be as well. But even on top of with the Acolyte and with the show's performance, and there was lack of conversation that not many people were talking about it weekly, if you know what I mean. Like there was like no clear sense of direction. It was a poor storyline, poor character development. They didn't even get their chance to shine on screen. But even though I liked some of the characters, but I just did not care for the show overall. And also with the Acolyte of what it presented with its concept of people trying to investigate the murder of many Jedi Masters. But even though I liked what it was presenting with its premise, I thought it was going good, but instead there was like a complete loss of momentum. It had like limited action. Like even the show that cost $180 million to make, and where'd all that money go? And like even though like that money probably went towards the people like walking in a jungle, possibly doing nothing, but it got like a limited lightsaber sequences and had like a goofy finale, and it just ended horrible in a way that we don't even need a season 2. Like I mean, I don't know if the same can be said for Ahsoka. Like I liked it, but I'm not sure if I was satisfied. Just with a show that's outside of the Skywalker saga timeline, it just didn't feel the vibe at all. And so for my final thoughts is, I'm sad that the show got canceled, but I think it was for the best, especially for the fandom, because this fan base is already divided enough with a bunch of Star Wars fans, especially as it is toxic sometimes nowadays. But even with other Star Wars projects, I don't know if they're doomed or not, but with a show like The Acolyte, it was just something that I wasn't like interested in, especially as it progresses on for the rest of the show. But I did like its vibe, but I did not like its storytelling, the plot, or its characters, because it was just something that I wasn't interested in. That's all I have to say. But in terms of what other Star Wars projects that we're getting down the line in the future, I don't know if they're doomed. But hey, we'll have to wait and see. But hey, I'm interested for what other projects that they have other sleeve and up in the game. But hey, time will tell. But that's gonna do it for this video. Just let me know in the comments below, and how are your thoughts on the Acolyte being canceled, and if you think other Star Wars projects are doomed at this point, just let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and turn on notifications bell for future videos. Also follow all my social medias, all of which are linked down below, including my Patreon. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.